Somewhere in a rented apartment in New York City in the winter of 2007, a young man sat alone and wrote in a diary. He didn't write about himself. He wrote in character. Every entry from the perspective of a man with no name, no rules, and no fear. He wrote about chaos as a philosophy. He wrote about laughter as a weapon. He drew images in the margins, clippings from newspapers, faces distorted into grotesque smiles, pages from books on social psychology and the history of violence. He was constructing something. And whatever it was consuming him. 6 months later, Heath Ledger would walk onto a film set and deliver what is widely considered the greatest single performance in the history of cinema. And 6 months after that, he would be gone. This is not a story about tragedy. This is a story about creation, about what it actually takes to build a character so powerful, so psychologically complete, that it outlives the man who built it. This is the story of the Joker that swallowed its master alive. In 2005, when Christopher Nolan announced he was making a sequel to Batman Begins, nobody asked who would play the Joker. Nobody thought it mattered that much. The previous live-action Joker, Jack Nicholson, in Tim Burton's 1989 film had been good, theatrical, fun, entirely of its era. Then the casting announcement came. Heath Ledger. The internet erupted in something close to contempt. Fan communities organized petitions. Entertainment news ran headlines asking whether Ledger was right for the role. The consensus was that this was a mistake. Heath Ledger read every single word of it. And then he went to work. Most actors prepare for a role by reading the script and learning the lines. Some go further, they research the history, meet people from relevant backgrounds, maybe change their physical appearance. Heath Ledger didn't do any of that. Not primarily. What Ledger did was something that behavioral psychologists would recognize as a process called method immersion, and he took it further than almost anyone had taken it before. He moved into that New York hotel room and locked himself away for 6 weeks. Not 6 days. Not 2 weeks. 6 weeks of almost complete isolation. No parties, minimal contact with friends, no public appearances. Every morning he woke up and immediately became someone else. Not Heath Ledger thinking about the Joker, but the Joker himself. Eating breakfast, reading the news, watching the world outside through a hotel window, and processing it through a mind that found everything either funny or irrelevant. The journal was the core instrument of this process. Ledger kept a physical diary later seen by his father and described publicly, in which he wrote, drew, and assembled a psychological portrait of the character from the inside out. Not what does the Joker do, but what does the Joker believe. What he found in those 6 weeks was radical. The Joker isn't insane. The Joker has a perfectly coherent philosophy. It's just one that most humans are too comfortable to confront. Chaos, in the Joker's worldview, isn't destruction for its own sake. It's exposure. The removal of the thin social agreements, politeness, law, property, hierarchy that people use to avoid looking directly at the animal underneath. The Joker's project, as Ledger constructed him, was to be the only honest person in Gotham City. The physical construction of the character came next. The voice, that low, wet, unpredictable cadence, wasn't an imitation of anything. Ledger developed it from the inside out, asking, what does a man sound like when he has no performance anxiety, no social self-consciousness, no need to impress anyone? What comes out when every filter is removed? The licking of the lips, one of the performance's most recognizable and unsettling tics, was improvised during rehearsal and kept because Nolan recognized immediately that it was involuntary. Not Ledger choosing to lick his lips. The Joker doing it because the makeup felt foreign and wrong. A genuine physical discomfort that Ledger absorbed and redirected into character texture. When filming began on The Dark Knight, the crew noticed something immediately. Every other actor arrived on set as themselves and became their character over the course of hair, makeup, and costume. Ledger arrived already there. The transformation had happened at home, in the car, in the morning. By the time he walked on set, Heath Ledger was essentially absent. Christian Bale has spoken about this. He described looking into Ledger's eyes during their scenes together and genuinely not knowing what was coming next. Not because Ledger was unpredictable in an unsafe way, but because the character's internal logic had been so completely built that his responses weren't pre-planned. They emerged. The interrogation scene where Batman slams the Joker's head into a table repeatedly, demanding answers, was filmed multiple times. In multiple takes, Ledger began laughing. Not because the script said to laugh. Because in the Joker's psychological architecture, physical pain from Batman was objectively funny. An enemy who would never kill you, hitting you as hard as he could, desperately trying to use force against a man who has no fear of pain. He laughed because the character's logic demanded laughter. And it was the most terrifying thing anyone on set had ever seen. Heath Ledger died on January 22nd, 2008. The Dark Knight was released 6 months later. He never saw the finished film. Never heard an audience react. never sat in a theater and watched what he had built. What happened when the film opened was something cinema had rarely seen. Not just box office, not just critical acclaim, something stranger and more durable. The Joker became the most analyzed, most discussed, most referenced fictional character of the 21st century. Philosophy students wrote papers about him. Psychologists used him in case studies. His dialogue was quoted at protests, at funerals, in political speeches. The character didn't just succeed as entertainment, it succeeded as an idea. Ledger had built something so psychologically coherent that it had genuine intellectual content. It was a working philosophical system expressed through performance. You could disagree with the Joker's worldview, but you couldn't dismiss it. It had been constructed too carefully for dismissal. The question that this story leaves us with is one of the most uncomfortable in all of art. Is there a cost to total immersion? Does the act of building a complete alternate self carry a psychological price that we don't yet fully understand? Ledger himself suggested, in interviews during and after filming, that the role had been more demanding than anything he'd done before, that the isolation had been harder to exit than to enter, that Heath Ledger had been easier to disappear than to find again. He built something perfect. And perfection, in art as in everything else, demands everything you have. There is a category of artistic creation that goes beyond craft, beyond technique, beyond preparation, beyond even talent. It is the category that requires the artist to temporarily cease to exist, to hollow out their own identity and fill the space with something entirely other. Heath Ledger understood this. He understood that the Joker couldn't be played from the outside, couldn't be constructed through costume and makeup and clever line readings. It had to be inhabited, completely, by someone willing to go to a place most performers never approach. He went there. And what he brought back, those 6 weeks of journal entries, those 6 months of performance, those hundreds of scenes in a finished film, is still alive in ways that almost nothing else in cinema is. The Joker that Heath Ledger built did not die with him. It escaped. It is, in the truest sense, immortal. And that more than any award, any box office record, any critical superlative, is what a great character actually is. Not something an actor plays. Something an actor releases into the world and then can never take back.